Hi, welcome to Intro to 3D Animation. And we're going to start with doing a flag animation. It's pretty simple since we don't have to work with keyframes because it's kind of going to create those for us. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have three types of flags here. I hit F3 and F4 to get to show up. And so we can see I've got a standard kind of square rectangular flag. We've got another type of flag. We also got a kind of a torn and mattered flag here. It's been through some battles and surviving through, right? So we're going to go through and apply the cloth modifier and get some animation in here. So first things first is you're going to create the flag itself, which I like to do just in the front view. And you're going to simply do that, create menu, go to plane, drag out a plane, and you're going to do this 110 by 1, delete that, 190. And then you're going to make sure you have 50 segments by 50 segments. All right, this is what's going to give us lots of polygons. If you only have 4 by 4, then it's going to look like that and it's not going to animate properly. So we do 50 by 50, that's a decent setting. In the future you could always test out doing larger segments to see how that's going to work out. The next up, you're going to create a flagpole. The one I have created here is radius of 2, height is 270. I have 5 height segments, 1 cap segments, and it's 18 sides, and then I have smooth on. So it's not quite lined up to the plane, but that's okay. But you can line everything up if you'd like. The easiest way is in one view I can just select everything that I have and just kind of move those up to the grid line. So it's kind of centered right there, right? So we'll start with this flag first. So we have it as a plane, and you're going to want to apply a texture to it, right? So we first go to Material Editor. Now I like to apply the texture first. So what you would do is drag out a bitmap, right? Standard. Drag out your diffuse bitmap. Find where your texture is at. So you could select your texture. In this case, I'm just going to shift drag this one out that I already have and connect it in. And then I would right click, assign the material to selection, view in shaded viewport, this icon here, and close that out and I'm done. Now yours may not look like this yet because it doesn't know how to apply the material. So we're going to go and do unwrap UVW. I go to polygon mode, you're going to select all the polygons, and then you're simply going to hit projection planar mapping. You click it on, click it off, and bam, it should perfectly put your texture picture as the flag. So now that's done, I don't need that anymore, so we need to bake this information in. So what we're going to do is collapse to, right click on unwrap UVW. So right click and go to collapse to, and just hit yes and it collapses it. Now this is going to create this editable mesh here. So what we're going to do is just convert that back to an edited poly. Now we need to create our wind and gravity because in 3D there is no physics unless if you create them. So we're going to go back to our create menu. We're going to go to the space warps, this little wavy icon, and we're going to do, let's see here, we got gravity. We'll just drag this in about so, and then we're going to click wind and drag out wind. Now mine is already set to be spherical. I hit W for move, so to edit the settings I'm going to have to go back to the modify tab here. and you have planar, and you have spherical. So planar is directional, so you would have to rotate this to kind of get a specific wind direction if you only want that, or you could just do spherical. And we're going to select the turbulence to 15, and the gravity is already good to go. Alright, so set your strength to 15 for the wind. You may need to do less or more depending on what the size of your flag and what type of material you assign to the flag, right? And whatever else you may have in your scene. So now we have our settings for that, so we can just go ahead and click off of it. We're going to select our flag now, and we're going to look for the cloth modifier. There is two. There's cloth and then there's M cloth. So we're just going to do cloth for now. In cloth has a couple advanced settings. It's a little bit different. But we're just going to stick with this. So the first thing that we're going to do is object properties. So we select flag 1. We say it's a cloth, and then it's got some presets here that we could drop down. So this specific cloth, we're just going to do a cotton. You may want to try testing out maybe satin or silk and see if that is useful or not to you, depending on what you're making. You could always do like a bandana on a character flying in the wind, so you can add one of those presets to it. Alright, so we're going to select cotton, hit OK, and now that the program knows that the flag is cotton, we're going to go ahead and set up our forces. So we're going to select gravity and wind, and we're going to shift those over just by hitting this arrow, click OK, and we're good to go on our forces. Now, in order for our flag to stay connected to our pole, we need to drop down cloth by hitting the plus sign, select group, and we're going to select a group of points here. Now I'm going to deselect some of these middle ones just to get a unique effect. So we have now just some points selected at the top and some at the bottom here. You can kind of see them in red. So now that we got those, we're going to go to make group, and we could just call this whatever you want to. I'm just going to call this the flag node. Hit OK. And when we click node, it's asking us what do you want these to be attached to. So I'm going to click the flagpole, and you only have to click once and it is good to go. It's already set it. It shows flag node, node to flagpole. So it knows that those points are connected to the flagpole. So now we can go back, click to the cloth title here, and we can click simulate local, and this is going to do, you could say like a demonstration just to see what it's going to look like. Now I can press F4 and F3 just to get back to what I'm looking for. So the wind is not very strong. I may want to turn up my strength for the wind. So I can just click simulate local, turn it back off, go back to my wind, and let's do 22. Back to the flag, we can reset state for the simulation and simulate again. The simulation will just kind of give us an idea of what it looks like. At any time you could turn it off if you were wanting to get a standstill frame of what it looks like blowing. So to actually create an animation down here, to have an animation of it blowing, we're going to need to click simulate. So if I want to start from right here, this is the start of my animation, I can do that. I just leave it right here and just go ahead and click simulate. And once I do that, it's going to go through, and you can see the time slider moving along here. It's generating keyframes for us so that we have an animation of the flag. So we'll let that run through. Alright, so the simulation is finished, and I've created keyframes, so I've got some animation for my main flag here. I'm going to make this full screen here just by hitting the toggle switch in the corner. And so now we can see that I actually have an animation of the flag. So I did the simulation as well with the other flags just to show you how they look. This one that has some holes and rips in it, and this one that's a different style flag with different pieces of the points attached to it. So we have that there. And this is all from the same wind and gravity. I had to do the same options on these flags to make sure they were affected by the wind and gravity correctly on my. Now we need to save out a movie file. So we're first going to start with just rendering, just to kind of see what it looks like in our composition. So I want to frame this a little bit better. Let's do another render, see what that looks like. There we go. So that's a little bit better. I could grab the magnifying icon here just to zoom in just a little bit more. Voila, there we go. Okay, so now we need to go into our render setup icon. And we're currently rendering out a single frame. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the active time segment, which is 0 to 100 on the time slider. So this whole time segment, it is going to save out a movie file of the whole thing. So the area to render is our view, so that means everything that's here is in our view. We can stay with 640 by 480, that's fine for this, or if you have 800 by 600, that's fine as well. 640 by 480 will render just a little bit faster, but we'll have lower quality resolution. So we're going to keep scrolling down, and render output, we have save file as grayed out because you need to actually select where you want to save it. So we're going to go to Files, and we're going to select Desktop. We are going to title this flag underscore name, whatever your name is, and then we'll select the format that we want to go into. So I recommend either AVI or QuickTime. For this, we're going to do QuickTime, the MOV format. So then we would click Save. It's going to ask us the compression type. You could do H.264. We want the best quality that we can get. So you can kind of see the preview changes a little bit. So in 30 frames per second being the standard, we click OK. Now it has save file selected. So now if I click render, it will render that out and save it. So we just click render. There you go. And now it's going to go through all the frames. So we can see right here it is So I went ahead and skipped ahead. We have the QuickTime video right here, and I just double clicked on it on my desktop since that's where I saved it, and I can just hit play, and there we have it. We have 100 frames of animation, which is about 3 seconds long here, of the flag that we created blowing in the wind. Check out part 2 for more exciting features